I need Riv to lock in here because I know the moment the news hit him, a little nerve struck his heart. It pierced him because there go those Green Bay Packers that he was not worried about. Out of sight, out of mind. And I told him, Micah's getting traded to Green Bay. You better watch it. You better put some respect on Jordan Love, on Matt LaFleur and company. And let's just start with the facts. 4 years, $188 million from Micah Parsons. First in pressure rate since 2021. Micah Parsons became the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Well deserved. But here's some facts for you. Brett Favre had Reggie White. He won a Super Bowl in his 6th season. Aaron Rodgers had Charles Woodson. He won a Super Bowl in his 6th season. Jordan Love got Micah Parsons. What is he entering right now? His 6th NFL season. The Green Bay Packers are going to represent the NFC, and they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. That is my Super Bowl pick.
Here we go. Year 3.
The pass rush is now not a problem. And then Matthew Golden will fix their receiver issues because he is a star. You can't have the last name Golden and not be a star. He is a star.
Look at his number.
Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. History repeats itself. 3 times the charm. And those are the facts.
It would be pretty amazing. Riv,
you're forgetting a lot of facts. No, he's forgetting a lot of facts. 1-5 in the division last year. That's a fact. Lions practically have won a division 2 years in a row. That's a fact.
That happened.
Didn't beat the Eagles at all last year. That's a fact.
That's a fact.
He forgot facts that actually matter. You know, those important facts. Just talking about the trade, I think it was a big move. I think Green Bay needed to do it. You needed to hit on a big time star, and I think that was important. You know, only giving up Kenny Clark, 2 first-round picks. We'll talk about Dallas later because that's going to be a funny conversation. But them trading away Micah Parsons, who's arguably the best defensive player in football, was just idiotic. You paid CeeDee Lamb and Dak, guys who are older than Micah, but you won't pay your star defensive player, the only player that keeps you afloat on that side of the football. Very, very odd. Green Bay gave him that money in a heartbeat. And for Green Bay, it just gets them into those conversations with these other teams like Detroit, like the Rams, if Stafford is healthy, like Philadelphia. I do think, Joel keeps promoting this. I was nervous. I actually didn't move a finger. I didn't feel anything when the trade happened. I just was like, oh, okay, good move for Green Bay, because I don't think their problem was defense. I think the problem was they scored 10 points against us in a playoff game. 10 points. 10 points. Michael Parsons can't score.
The problem,
unless he gets the strip sack, I don't think he's going to be able to score.
Excuse me, Riv. The problem wasn't Jalen Hurts standing. The problem was I'm just saying, Riv. I'm just saying, Riv. Did you not see the playoff game when Jalen Hurts had 20 seconds in the pocket and nobody was even near him? So you're telling me the pass rush is not a problem? That's what you're trying to tell me? The Packers didn't have a pass rush problem?
I can answer this, or are you going to cut me off?
You can answer this.
Okay,
let's go.
We've played Micah Parsons over the last 2 or 3 seasons. For the most part, Lane Johnson has kept him in check. Of course, obviously, we have other guys. He gets doubled. He's that type of talent. We have the best offensive line in football. Being as if we do have the best offensive line in football, we have damn near 3 All-Pros on the line, 4 Pro Bowlers. I'm not worried about nothing they have over there in Green Bay. Micah Parsons is a great talent. But in terms of guys like Rashawn Gary and stuff like that, I'm not moved. The problem on Green Bay against us will be who's going to be the wide receivers. You mentioned Marquise Golden. I think he's going to be a great talent. We have something called Quintanamo Bay over here where wide receivers have a hard time getting the ball over here. If you want, you can ask your boy Scary Terry in the playoff game. But for the most part, I'm not worried about Green Bay. You got to get past your division first. You won 1 game, and it was against the Chicago Bears last year. The Chicago Bears. You didn't beat Minnesota. You didn't beat Detroit. You actually didn't beat us either. So you didn't really beat anybody of upper echelon outside of the Rams early in the year. So figure that part out first, and then we can talk about NFC Championship games, something you haven't been to in a while, a Super Bowl, something you haven't been to in a while. We'll get to that conversation first, but to get there, you have to climb certain steps. And Micah Parsons is a great stepping stone, but you didn't get there yet. There's levels to this.
This is so insanely disrespectful. You not only didn't get Matthew
First
Golden's
round
name
exit.
right. You called him Marquise.
Marquise Golden.
That's number
killed me.
one. You
Sorry,
disrespected Matthew
fault.
Golden that you called Marquise
Matthew.
Golden. You
Yo, Matthew,
disrespected
pardon me, bro.
You disrespected Xavier McKinney, who's arguably the best safety in football, and you disrespected the Green Bay Packers. Maybe last year they won 11 games despite not beating upper echelon teams, but in 2023 they beat the Lions on Thanksgiving. They beat the Chiefs in primetime. They beat the Vikings in a must-win game. They beat the Bears, who were the first ranked defense EPA per play wise in the second half of the season.
That's the Lions just lose to the Commanders in the playoffs.
Oh, so now
they're
Lions okay. And here's the thing.
There's a level. There's just levels.
You and I both know the Packers
We
became tier 1 contenders with this move. They became an upper echelon NFC team, and it is a team that you gotta be staying awake up at night.
Joel,
so watch when they're coming. You do
Joel,
know
I don't
that.
think you know what a tier 1 team looks like, because you had us. You were calling us not serious early in the year and saying the Cowboys and the Bengals were better than us. So you don't even know what a tier 1 team. You don't even know what a tier 1 team really looks like.
You weren't serious in the beginning of the year.
You said
Kirk
last
Cousins
summer
drove you down the field.
You said last summer Green Bay was winning the Super Bowl then. You don't know what tier 1 teams really look like. You don't know what that conversation is. So I get it. Micah's there. Golden's there. You still believe in Jaden Reed. Josh Jacobs is really good. Xavier McKinney was all pro. The sky is really high for Green Bay, but like I said before, these are facts. 1-5 in the division last year. Detroit's still hanging around. The Rams, you have to worry about them if Matthew Stafford is healthy. I think these are teams that are still going to be in front of the Green Bay Packers. To get to us, to talk to me, like to get to where we at, you got to get past those stepping stones. This is a good first step, I'd say, though.
Man, let me tell you something, Riv. Joel may have been wrong to you last year, but to be quite honest, what it sounds like is that he was just early. And there's a couple of stats they use, and I think it's important to get some context and stay at this NFC North, because you not only have the Lions, who are the number 1 seed, the number 1 team in this division last year, lose both their coordinators, but 2 awesome players in the line. The Vikings have a first-year quarterback, and this Packer team last year won 11 games, with Jordan Love playing through injury all year long.
Detroit lost their whole defense and won the division.
And a lot of those players, like Aleem McNeil, aren't going to be back until November. Aiden Hutchinson's coming back off a pretty serious injury. He's going to have to work his way back, and we don't know exactly if he's going to be 100%. But when we talk about this Packer team, top 10 offense last year, while they're all wide receivers, led the league in drops collectively. Jordan Love was healthy at no point in the season. Now, he did have that thumb procedure, but he seems like he's going to be ready to go week 1. And then on top of that, their defense last year was top 10. When you look at this starting lineup, beyond Micah Parsons, every single player with the exception of Rashawn Gary and Xavier McKinney are 26 or under. And this was a top 5 unit, top 10 unit last year, top 5 in EPA. And this was with a first-year defensive coordinator. You saw Jeff Hafley come in and completely turn around their defense. They added Micah Parsons. And like you said a week ago on the podcast, when we were talking about the Packers and our tier 2 teams, they would be a tier 1 team if they made a big splash. And I think that's Micah. They did it today. I think this is a type of move that easily catapults them into that firm tier A conversation and the biggest contender to knocking off that Eagle team that has had an awesome Super Bowl run. So I think there's definitely something for this Packer team to prove, especially in the skill position player department. With that being said, like Joel, I really firmly agree with Joel here. I think that's a Packer you got to respect, because if you don't, this defense and this offense, as it comes together, it's going to be one that could take flight.
For this NFL season, we are partnered with Splash Sports, and right now we have 3 contests up. We have NFL 5 and Done, we have NFL Survivor, and we have our free-to-join NFL Pick'em.
And we're doing something special just for you guys. We're giving out 5 copies of NBA 2K26. All you have to do is enter into one of these contests and show us proof that you entered.
You will not be able to enter these NFL contests on September 4th, the NFL season opener. So it is adamant that you enter as soon as possible and show us we can enter you in that giveaway. And Splash Sports tracks everybody coming from Pick a Side by joining our contest, so there is no affiliate link. So if you want to help the podcast further, if you want to help our partner because they are sponsoring us for the entire NFL season, go to Splash Sports. It's very easy. You go to the home tab. Once you download the app, you go to the search bar, you type in Pick a Side, we will pop up and you will see all of our NFL contests, and we will have NFL contests throughout the NFL season as well.
I've never disrespected the Green Bay Packers defense. I've never did that. My whole problem is they scored. They scored 10 points in a playoff game.
What about the 29 in the first game of the season?
Yeah, we could bring that up. They scored 29 points in that game. Lost.
In the
Then they
playoff
went. They
game,
scored
Christian
10 points.
Watson
Lost.
was hurt. One of the best receivers last year who stretched the field vertically.
You got to pick a side on Christian Watson, brother.
Christian Watson is an awesome
we don't know. He's always hurt.
He's
always hurt.
He's always hurt.
To be fair to him, unfortunately.
So many
this
injuries.
offense is relying on Christian
Packers
Watson,
team.
brother. Good luck.
Hey,
There's
if
so
Micah
many
Parsons
injuries
will
with the
score for
Packers.
y'all, he could play fullback. Maybe he could get some points for y'all. You know.
Well, you know how he could score for the Packers. He could score by getting to the quarterback, forcing a strip sack, and taking that bad boy to the house. That's how he can affect the game. That's how good he is.
Oh, okay. Well, he can. I don't dispute that. He could probably do that. I just gotta win your division first. Worry about that.
They will.
Worry about that first.
That's what
That's step one.
I'm interested. We're gonna do our NFC North predictions, but this probably a preview of it regardless. I mean, Drew, did you change your pick at all, knowing that Micah went to Green Bay Packers?
No, it's an amazing move for Green Bay. Do not get me wrong. I wish it was the Broncos desperately. It's exactly what I thought. 2 firsts and a game-changer defensive player. Kenny Clark's good. I think that Nick Benito's better. Hey, it is what it is. Shout out to Green Bay for getting the deal done. This definitely moves the needle for me. I give them the spot over Minnesota. No, I do not put them the spot at the top because that does belong to the Detroit Lions. John, I can respect where you're coming from about Aleem McNeil. That is going to be a guy that they get later on in the season. But Aiden Hutchinson's ready to go. And as long as he's on that football field, I trust what he's going to provide for that Detroit Lions defense. And Riv, you said it best. That defense, after they lost 6 starters, still played at a high level. Glenn was a big reason for that. Unfortunately, he now coaches the New York Jets. But regardless, you get healthier with the Detroit Lions defense. You still have a bunch of game changers on the offensive side of the ball. I still believe in the ceiling that is the Detroit Lions. Now, do not get me wrong. This raised the floor immensely for Green Bay. Micah Parsons is one of the 3, at worst, 5 best defenders in all of football. He is a game changer. He is one of the best at getting to the quarterback. But I'm still going to pump the brakes on Green Bay and propping them up to be title contenders, Super Bowl favorites. Let's relax because Riv is 100% right. At the end of the day, this is a team that's offense struggled to put up points come playoff time. Against the Eagles, that is what lagged behind. Their defense played the part. Unfortunately, their offense couldn't because they didn't have the weapons. We know what we're getting from Micah. We're not 100% positive what we're getting out of Matthew Golden, and albeit I do believe he will be a difference maker for them. We have to wait and see from the rest of the supporting guys. Jaden Reed was disappointing last year. Dontavian Wicks couldn't catch a cold. This wasn't an offense that was prolific when it came to the wide receiver position. Josh Jacobs is going to be incredible, but I still need to see what's up with these wide receivers before I move them to that top spot. But as of right now, you got to show some love to Green Bay.
Hey, before Dels, real quick, just before you go, just had to look it up real quick. When the fourth quarter started, we was up 16-3 in the playoff game. 16-3.
It was a great showing from the Eagles, and here's what I'll say to that. I think that it is number one. The Eagles defense got worse by losing Milton Williams and Josh Sweat. Even though I believe in the players, they can step up. I don't know if they're going to be that level of player right away. You still have a hole at a boundary corner that now that Slay has left. And I understand what Drew is saying. Matched up against Philadelphia, that's a tough matchup. Patrick Mahomes struggled against them in the Super Bowl. That defense was legit. It's one of the all-time defensive units in history. That's how statistically great they were. But I don't have no questions about the Packers putting up points on the Rams or the Commanders or the Bucs or the Lions or any other team in the NFC. The Eagles defense is the only defense that, it's going to be a dogfight slugfest. But any other team, the Packers will put up points on them.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the Packers. I think when you're comparing them to the Eagles, it's hard to, off this move alone, say they're on their level or definitely above them. But they do feel much more in line now with the second tier of the NFC contenders, right? When you're talking about the Rams, the Lions, the Vikings, if you believe in J.J. McCarthy, they feel like they're comfortably in that spot. And even before the Micah trade, they felt like, they were creeping up there, but they were missing, key pieces, I think, on both sides of the ball. Their defense last year was interesting because we keep referring to it as a top 10 unit, and EPA numbers, they were a top 4, top 5 unit. But they relied heavily on turnovers and these big plays, right? They were top 5 in turnovers. They were 21st in success rate. This was a defense last year that allowed offenses to move the ball against them, right? Typically, when you see teams top 5 in EPA, they're at least top 10 in success rate, right? There's usually some correlation there. But for the Packers, that wasn't the case. They relied a lot on turnovers. And part of the reason was because their pass rush, right? They had one of the worst 5 to 10 worst pass rushes in the NFL amongst all the contenders, one of the worst pass rushers in the NFL. If we're talking about just playoff teams. So getting Micah Parsons is huge and definitely puts them on a playing field that makes it more plausible that they can make a legit playoff run. I'm still a bit concerned about a true number one option on offense, because what the Packers showed us last year was a bit of a change in identity, right? When you got Josh Jacobs, this became a team that, in part due to Jordan Love's injury, really relied on running the ball. And that was their identity. They relied on Josh Jacobs and him becoming a workhorse, and were really a run first team. And I still think that's what their identity is going to be at the end of the day. Like, Jordan Love is going to have a great year. I think he's a borderline top 10 quarterback. He could have games where he goes out there and he outplays Jaden Daniels, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts, all of these NFC level of quarterbacks. I have no doubt about that. But just like we've talked about, plenty of other contenders in the past, whether it's the Ravens or the Bills or whoever else you might be, when it comes down to it and it's a 3rd and 10, who are you relying on to win one-on-one? And that's still the one area that I think the Packers lack. I know they led the league in drops last year. It wouldn't surprise me if they led the league in drops again, right? Dontavian Wicks is still on this team. Jaden Reed is dealing with the Jones fracture. He's not going to be 100% by week 1. And you're really relying on Matthew Golden to step in and produce right away. And I thought he was a good prospect. I didn't think he was this can't miss prospect. Of course, he's taken late in the first round. He wasn't, hyped up to be that. But I don't know if he's somebody that's going to come in and really demand wide receiver 1 attention or wide receiver 1 looks from this offense. So when I look at the unit as a whole, it still feels like it's a tier below basically the Rams of the world, the Eagles of the world, even the Cowboys of the world, who we'll talk about later, but those kind of playoff level of teams. So without a doubt, they got better, right? Getting Micah Parsons, you got, one of the best defenders in the world, like you guys all said. But the one area I'm still concerned with is just those pass catchers. Is there going to be a breakout? They've been waiting for a year in and year out, right? Christian Watson can't stay healthy. Jaden Reed has been used more as a gadget player, even though he statistically has been their best receiver. Dontavian Wicks, Matthew Golden, Tucker Kraft, all guys that have shown potential and shown flashes, but haven't really gained the trust, I think, of the coaching staff or Jordan Love to be like the go-to guy. That's my only concern about Green Bay, but we'll talk about it later. They definitely took a bit of a tier jump. Like, they, to me, feel like it is neck and neck with them in Detroit, and Detroit having so much turnover with offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, as well as the offensive line. It really feels like this is a year that the Packers can compete and win this division.
Well, I have no doubt in my mind Dontavian Wicks will be better this year.
Yeah. Yo, Joel, guess how many interceptions Jordan Love threw that game?
3.
Playoff game. Yeah, 3 interceptions.
The last one was just a prayer down the field near the end of the game.
He does that a lot,
in my opinion.
You hate to see
Dontavian Wicks will be better. And
Mm-hmm.
I think what Dale's mentioning, he mentioned some good points. I think the defense regressing was a concern before the Micah trade. Now that they got Micah, I don't have no concerns about the defense. The defense is locked and loaded. And I think their corner room, which has been questioned, I think they're going to be fine. Jair Alexander didn't even play 5 games for them last year. And Nate Hobbs, who is durable and is going to play the entire season, he's physical and versatile. I think their defense is going to be better this year. Their offense, you're right. A lot of unproven guys at wide receiver, a lot of players with some drop problems. But I think a big part of their high run rate was that Jordan Love was hurt and Matt LaFleur was trying to protect his quarterback. I'd be very surprised if they're not throwing the ball more this upcoming season. And I think all those guys will take a step up. And I do think Golden strikes fear into defenses with his speed. I do.
I think genuinely, Joel, this is one thing I can definitely 100% say I agree with you in what you said. It's that the Micah thing creates an elite floor for Green Bay. Because you mentioned it, like this team relied heavily on getting a lot of turnovers, and they have some talent on the defensive side, but that secondary was getting a ton of turnovers and stuff like that. But with Micah on that defensive line, it creates a safe and foundational floor for this defense where they're probably going to be a top 10 unit. I think probably towards the back end in success rate, they'll be able to be more consistent on a down-to-down basis. But it's just that offense, like Dell's mentioned, like 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 9, like 3rd and 8. who you give the ball to, even 2nd and 8, 2nd and 9, 2nd and 10, when they play man coverage, like who's going to be a guy that can, get over on a top corner? I don't think they have that type of talent. And I don't want to just put them over Detroit. Detroit was one of the most effective offenses in football last year, and they're essentially bringing everybody back. Jameson Williams is better. Amon-Ra St. Brown, they still have their running back duo. Obviously, they lose their coordinators, but the talent is still there in terms of Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson with Sam Laporta. The talent is still they still have an overwhelming talent on offense as opposed to Green Bay. Obviously, the defense took a hit in terms of just injuries and stuff like that. But I feel like them getting Micah, putting him in that tier with those other teams like Minnesota, like Green Bay, I think that's fine because I think Micah is an elite player, best defensive player in the world, like I mentioned. Just that offense leaves a lot to be desired, I'll say, outside of the run game to a degree.